Hi everybody, welcome to the Vortex. I'm Bill Whittle. Well, it may be the worst piece of legislation ever foisted on the American people. 2,500 pages of unreadable dreck that was so dense, so impenetrable, and so obtuse that its primary backer, former Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi, famously said, "We need to pass the legislation in order to find out what's in it." Now we're talking about the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, otherwise known as Obamacare. Well, they did pass it, and most of us still don't know what's in it. No one really knows what's in the bill, and that's the whole point. It gets worse. Since they've passed the bill, they have added 13,000 more pages of regulations. The rules are so confusing, many of the states don't even understand them. They told you it would lower the deficit. It actually explodes the deficit by well over $1 trillion. They told you it wasn't a tax. Well, the Supreme Court ruled that either it was a tax or the entire bill is unconstitutional, so guess what? It's a tax. In fact, it's the largest tax on the American middle class in history. They told you it would lower the cost of your health care. It raises it dramatically. Already, insurance rates are skyrocketing because of its mandates on insurers. And they told you if you liked your current health care plan, you can keep your plan. Only you won't be able to, not when they're finished. If you're wondering where I found out about all this, I can tell you I bought a copy of the Obamacare Survival Guide. Believe it or not, it's the only real guide to the law. It's written in easy-to-read language and exposes the whole charade known as Obamacare. So let's start this reality check of Obamacare with costs. Instead of going down, healthcare costs are rising at a faster rate than before the law was passed. According to a study by the Kaiser Family Foundation, premiums shot up 9% in 2011, that's just 2011 alone, to over $15,000 per family. A study by the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation determined that fewer than 35% of employers would continue to offer their established plans once the new law takes full effect, making keeping your existing coverage nearly impossible. Now that means your employers can stop your current coverage and pay a fine to the government. They actually will save money by doing so, but you will pay big because you'll be forced to buy insurance on a new government exchange. And look, it's not like this is the first time we've been down this road. History tells us that progressive social engineering in America is always littered with misleads and deceptions about cost. For example, when Medicare was first passed in the 1960s, the House Ways and Means Committee predicted that the program would cost $12 billion by 1990. The real cost was almost $100 billion, 8 times the total projected amount. Obamacare seems to be on the same track with the high-risk pools set up to carry adults with pre-existing conditions through 2014 already running out of money. Well, then there are the cuts to Medicare itself being used to pay for this new entitlement. These cuts were projected to be $455 billion when the bill was passed. Those estimates have now been revised up by the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office twice. First to $507 billion and then to $716 billion. And why are they cutting Medicare for seniors? Well, here's why. The government is adding 30 million new people to the health rolls, people who currently don't pay for insurance. So someone has to pay for them, and Obama and Pelosi and Reid decided seniors would by cutting their Medicare services. But of course, the real danger of Obamacare is that most of what's in it isn't even, in it. That's because the 2,500-page document itself isn't the real Obamacare at all. It's only the lattice upon which the real law will be built, not by Congress. That would be constitutional, and these days that's against the law, apparently. No, we can't have that. No, the real Obamacare will be shaped by the literally thousands of new rules and regulations created by the legions of government bureaucrats in the executive agencies empowered with implementing this bill that no one has read. Executive regulations are just laws by another name, and without those pesky representation the people are supposed to have when laws are being passed, real laws, Obamacare is genuinely government by fiat. You know that contraceptive mandate that forces Catholic churches to pay for the birth control they believe is a sin? Well, that's among the first of these new executive decrees under new authority granted by Obamacare. We're less than 2 years in, and already freedom of religion is being trampled. You kind of wonder what parts of the Bill of Rights might be next. And of course, there's the new presidential commission called the Independent Payment Advisory Board, or IAPB, a body of unelected executive officials who will be able to make future cuts to the Medicare budget or to Obamacare, and whose decisions will go into effect automatically, not if they're approved by Congress, but only if they aren't counteracted by a 3/5 supermajority vote in the U.S. Senate. Now, where in the Constitution does it allow one Congress to pass a law by a simple majority, a law that states any future Congresses need a supermajority of 60% to overturn the same law? I'm telling you, this is a very dangerous precedent. And how can you stay with a private health plan that has to compete against an insurer, namely the federal government, that doesn't have to make a profit? In fact, how does your private health care plan compete with someone who can print their own money? They can't. And the people who rammed this down the throats of the American people know it. The Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act won't protect patients, and we can't afford it. But it will accomplish its true goal, which is to increase federal control over the lives of the American people and make them even more dependent on the benevolence of a ruling elite that deliberately misleads and patronizes them. Hey, don't take my word for it. Here's all the proof you'll need. This is a list of all of the entities that have petitioned to be exempted from Obamacare. You know what I find most interesting, and when I say interesting, what I really mean is disgusting and despicable about this list? Well, it's the fact that the people that push the hardest for the passage of this law are the ones who have the political clout to be exempted from the law. Now, what does that tell you? I know what it tells me. You and I cannot stop Obamacare. It's the law. The Supreme Court upheld it as a tax. But like any tax, you can find out what legal steps you can take to suffer less from it. So find out more about what is in store for your family, for your business, and also how to protect your health care from the coming Obamacare catastrophe. Pick up your copy of the Obamacare Survival Guide by Nick J. Tate, or go to Obamacare911.com and find out how you can get a special offer copy for just $4.95. I'm Bill Whittle, and we'll see you next time on The Vortex.